it'll probably suit all parties. I don't know if Celtic can guarantee that they'll get the money that Nottingham Forest were prepared to spend allegedly in January. I'm not sure about that. I thought that was massive money. And I think the Forest were doing it because they were obviously looking at a second half of a campaign, trying to keep themselves in the English Premier League. They were prepared to throw the kitchen sink at it late on in the transfer window. Celtic might be doing well to get a bid of a comparable size in the summer. I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong, Mick. Maybe that's unfair, but I'd be quite surprised.
I think you look at the market in England. I think £20 million for a guy that profile is reasonable. Not a big ask. Not a big ask. I think that's. If English teams, it's a decent bargain for a guy with his ceiling, but it remains to be seen.
Does that kind of prove Brendan Rodgers right then, guys? Because I mean, signing for 11 million, record signing, taking a lot of stick for that at times. But if he's going to make that money back and more,
see that Daniel, though, the 11 million quid. It's not Brendan Rodgers who said I want to spend £11 million. This guy Celtic went about half of that earlier, and then kind of dithered and dallied a little bit, and the price went up. So it got to that value because Celtic weren't nimble enough to get a deal done sharp enough. So as it's happened many times now in the last 2 years. So the 11 million quid, I mean, same with Adam Ida as well, with 7 million quid. Those fees weren't what they would have been if Celtic had been operating in a little bit more nimble fashion.
Wasn't Ida so, 9 million?
£9 million, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't Brendan Rodgers saying I want to spend 11 million quid. That guy, if it'd been 5.5, everyone were thinking that's an absolute steal. 11 million quid, you go record signing. He should be pinging balls at top corner every week. And he's not that kind of player. So it's not his fault they got to that fee, but they'll make their money back and then some on them, no doubt. But they would have made more if they were a bit sharper and getting them.
And listen, Daniel, you say, does that sort of vindicate Brendan Rodgers? Everything that's happened since Brendan Rodgers left the club has vindicated Brendan Rodgers. We were all wondering, waiting, inquiring, did he want to come out and say his bit? Did he have something to say to sort of respond to the way it ended for him at Celtic? And he just wasn't interested. I think he probably was just playing a smart long game, going, well, do you know what? We'll just let this season go on and see how it works out. And eventually the proof will be in the pudding. Brendan Rodgers has been proven to be correct. And whether or not he was correct to handle it in the manner that he did, whether or not the Honda Civic thing was a great idea. But you've seen over the course and distance of the entire season now that everything he said, all the alarm bells that he was ringing, it's all come home to roost. Brendan Rodgers was right. And the board have really mishandled this season, but probably the last 18 months, / 2 years. And it ended as it was going to inevitably end with a partner of ways with Brendan Rodgers. I don't think it was necessary for Dermot Desmond to come out and take a flamethrower at him and his reputation. But that just showed sometimes you get an angry response when you know you're right, when you've pressed the right buttons. I think that's what Brendan Rodgers did. Ultimately, it ended horribly. I thought that the way that Dermot Desmond handled it was embarrassing for a football club at the scale of Celtic. But ultimately, when you examine everything that Brendan Rodgers said and did and what he was trying to achieve, he was proven right again. Celtic board were not prepared to match his ambition, and it made it really difficult for him to move that team onwards and upwards. You've seen what effectively the Celtic regime have done in terms of their lack of coordination and strategy in the transfer market. Celtic are seriously depleted and downgraded from where they were 12 months ago under Brendan Rodgers. I don't think anybody, or a little bit longer, I don't think anybody could argue that that's not the case. And Rodgers was right.
I think he was right, but there's also the fact where Brendan Rodgers ended up is a little bit too neat a bow as well, because the scenario that I suspect Rodgers was looking for actually transpired eventually. And I know there's a suspicion inside Celtic as well that was in the pipeline. That move is coming in the pipeline. So listen, the reality is somewhere, like, was Brendan Rodgers angling to make a move somewhere else to Saudi Arabia? Probably. Was he let down by the club board? Absolutely. So it's both things can be right at the same time. And
do you think as smart a guy as Brendan is, do you think for a solitary second that he envisaged creating a situation where Dermot Desmond would come out and absolutely machine gun him in full public view. I don't think so. I don't think that he factored that in one bit.
No, I don't think that. I don't think he envisioned that. But I also, well, I know for a fact there's a suspicion that we're growing and behind the scenes that was something was afoot from Saudi, or elsewhere. I don't think they knew it was Saudi, but they knew it was from elsewhere. I think if Celtic had kept their powder dry for a while, that might have looked differently. But it definitely was a breakdown between the club and the manager, that's for sure. It didn't benefit anyone apart from Brendan, probably, who's now on about 15 million quid a year. And listen again, does anyone walk away from a big money contract unless they're going to another big money contract? I don't think so. So I think there's somewhere in between there. Celtic handled it very badly. Dermot Desmond lashing out like that. He lost any kind of high ground he might have had by doing that. And it made them look very petty and kind of bitter. Didn't help anyone. And the whole thing is soured much of the season, really, that whole breakup. But listen, the Celtic are where they are now. It's what on the bridge, isn't it? It's Martin O'Neill came back. And that feels about 10 years ago, that whole happened.
It doesn't feel like this season. No, it really doesn't feel as if that. Same with Russell Martin. No. None of it feels now at this point as if you almost think, God, that was a while. How many seasons back was that? What, it was this season? As you said, Mick, you used a great phrase. It's just been like one long, 10-month fever dream of a season.
I've lost and gained 2 stone about 5 times since that point. my graph has been going like that about 5 different times. The rocky roads of my waistline.
Well, we've got plenty of comments coming in, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, please hit us up with your thoughts. Rebels first up saying Leicester look like relegation favourites again this year. Brendan never left them in good shape, albeit he wasn't backed there either.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if he should get sort of reflective blame for Leicester.
Is they going to week 1?
This, yeah, I mean that was a way. I mean, okay, granted they were struggling in his last season, weren't they? And they were. It did look as if they were on a serious downward spiral. They were definitely heading towards the Championship. So maybe there is a bit of reflective blame on that, but I think it's difficult all this far down the line to say that this season to attribute that to Rodgers. Although clearly, when you look at that squad of players, a lot of them were signed from Brendan's time. There's a lot of big earners in there. I can't explain what's happened to Leicester, but it's actually, I find it a bit of a shame, because they were such. This is 10 years ago, the season that they won the English Premier League, and now they're just an absolute free fall. So I feel for them a little bit.
Your low Muppet says, am I missing something? Engels has done nothing but cross balls. He's never an £11 million pound player, never mind 25. Green Machine says the board sold quality players and pushed out a top manager. That's why we are fighting for the league. John says Brendan doesn't have to say a word. Situation, it speaks for itself.